Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, what's happening with y'all? It's your boy again, Frederick Nathan Bompuku Jr., whatever y'all call me. I don't know. I got too many nicknames. We're back on another episode of the Let's Talk podcast. This time, like I said in the previous episode, if you didn't go watch that episode, I was telling my story about the drums. Go back and watch that video. Like, subscribe to the channel, man. Subscribe. Go tell your friends about the channel. Go tell your friends about the Let's Talk podcast. Man, so usually, if you know me, this channel is usually about music and drum covers but man, I'm getting away from that today. We're gonna talk about basketball. If you know me, I'm a big NBA guy. I got my phone here, my old phone, because I want to talk about the playoffs. We're gonna break it down. So you already know we're 3-4 rounds in already. I think no, we're just about to get done with the West and East semifinals. Getting close. We got one more game tomorrow night. Thunder versus Nuggets, Game 7. Winner will play the Timberwolves on the East side in the Eastern Conference Finals. We got the Pacers going up against the Knicks. But, man, I'm going to rewind us. But like I was saying, if you know me, I'm a big basketball guy. Love the sport, love the game. And, man, I'm excited to talk about the playoffs because if you know me, I love talking hoops with people. So let's start. We're starting on the West side. We had the 1 seed Thunder sweep the 8 seed Grizzlies 4-0. Now, I did get to go to one of the games, round 1 with the Thunder, and man, round 1 the Thunder looked good. They ain't meant business. You know, one of the cool things I like about the Thunder this year compared to the other teams, they're not wearing any special shirts. You know, as you see, like every team has like their motto or whatever, but the Thunder, they just got their warm-ups, you know, straight business, and they meant business against the Thunder. Now, they did have a couple games, you know, where they almost lost. I mean, Game 3, talk about coming back down from a 20-plus point lead to win that game. I mean, impressive. And then Game 2, like I said, I did go to Game 2, and, man, the Thunder looked good. But the Grizzlies, you know, not having John Morant, you know, him getting hurt kind of turned the momentum, you know, gave the Thunder the momentum a little bit. And Grizzlies kind of lost their fuel, you know, which led to their sweep. You know, but the Thunder were definitely not a team you wanted to mess with round 1. They looked really good, you know, after round 1. SGA looked a little bit, you know, sloppy a couple games, you know, but, you know, the guys, you know, stepped up. Chet, you know, J-Dub. You know, you look at guys like Hartenstein, you know, Isaiah Joe and off the bench. Cason Wallace, he's been a really great player for the Thunder. Very underrated. You know, Aaron Wiggins, Alex Caruso, you know, a great defender. They were able to step up and get the job done for the Thunder, you know, in a 4-0 sweep. Then you look next round, next game, Nuggets Clippers. What a series. Went to 7. Series goes to the Nuggets. I didn't really watch that series, but, you know, two great teams. You know, the Nuggets are one of my favorite teams. First of all, I didn't talk about my teams. So growing up, I was like LeBron. I've always been a LeBron James guy. And so I kind of bandwagoned. I started with Cleveland, then went to Miami, back to Cleveland, Lakers fan. But since being in Oklahoma, you know, 10-plus years, I've also become a Thunder fan. I'm very fond of the international guys. You know, so I'm a big Giannis guy, big Luka Doncic guy, big Joker. You know, that transitions us right into that series. You know, talking about the Nuggets, man. Joker, I personally believe he's the best center in the game. Could be MVP this year, but I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is going to get that MVP award this year. He could have won it last year, but, you know, Joker, again, man, such a great player. He's going to go down as one of the greats. Going to be a Hall of Fame player someday. But man, him and Jamal Murray, that pick and roll is tough to beat. But when you got guys also like, Aaron Gordon able to step up, guys like Peyton Watson, Russell Westbrook, the guy that he is, he's a vet coming off the bench, still able to give minutes. I don't know really too much about their bench guys. I know they got, Christian Braun or Bond out of Kansas, great player off the bench. Saric, I don't think got minutes. I'm trying to think of their other guys. DeAndre Jordan didn't get minutes. Julian Saucer, I don't think got minutes that round. I'm just trying to think of all their bench guys. They got some guys there. They got an okay bench. But, you look at the team like the Clippers. Also, great team. Just, Game 7 was not it for them. James Harden had a bad Game 7. I think he only finished with like 5-6 points. Really wasn't a great Game 7. But, Kawhi looked really good these playoffs. And, you got to watch out for a team like the Clippers because they're always going to be dangerous, especially going into next season. I think healthy Kawhi, could really make some noise for that team. And they could be good, I really didn't pay too much attention to the Clippers this year. But, a Clipper team with what they have, they've always been a dangerous team, and you just never know. But what a series, 4-3 Nuggets. Then you look at Timberwolves, Lakers. Now this series was not a series for the Lakers. 4-1 Timberwolves. Man, Anthony Edwards, dog. Also a great player. I've really enjoyed watching. He's going to be a star. He's going to be one of the bright stars of the NBA someday. Julius Randle stepped up. One guy that I'm not too fond of as a big man. He's not one of my faves, but I give him kudos. Rudy Gobert stepped up in Game 5. 30 points to close it out. Dante DiVincenzo. Naz Reid was hot that series. Naz Reid is a great six-man player. Great player for that team. I'm trying to think of who else is on this team. Like the rosters, it's kind of crazy because I watch the league a lot. There's some teams I could name a lot of their players, but some guys I just can't name the players. So Timberwolves another team. They got Mike Conley as well, great veteran point guard. Leading that team. Nikhil Alexander Walker, great player. Jaden McDaniels, also another great player that was cooking. But let's talk about the Lakers. You got 40-year-old LeBron James. So much he can do. Luka Doncic. He did what he could do. Austin Reeves kind of stepped it up. I felt like this year was a good year for him, decent year. I think the Lakers are going to need him to be that third guy for this team. They want to succeed, in the future. But one of the things that kills the Lakers that they did not have is a big man. They did not have a big. And it really softened them up. And it was a very interesting decision by J.J. Redick to not play Jackson Hayes in Game 5 and go small ball. I don't think that was a good decision because the Lakers did get killed on the boards. Looking at that team, Rudy Gobert, Julius Randle, Naz Reid, you got those big guys. Man, you got to be able to stop them on the boards and be able to get stops. But, the Lakers just weren't able to close that out. I honestly thought the Lakers were going to win that series. I thought it was going to be a closer series than it was. There's a couple questionable calls. I think it was I can't remember, Game 3 or Game 4, where that out-of-bounds call off an Ant got changed to a foul on LeBron. That was a questionable call, which definitely changed the momentum of the game. But, the Lakers at the end of the day couldn't get the job done. And we'll see what happened with LeBron again. I think he'll play next year. I think it will be either year 23 or year 24. But man, he's a 40-year-old dude still dominating the league. At least averaging 20 a game. Luka will be probably back on the Lakers, I think, in my opinion. Austin Reeves, but the Lakers absolutely need a big. They also got to have consistent 3-point shooters. Some guys they could hit some series, and some days they just could not hit. You got to have consistency out of your guys like Doe, Dorian Finney-Smith. You got to be consistent. Austin Reeves got to be consistent. Gabe Vincent off the bench got to be consistent. Goodwin, played a couple games in that series. There wasn't much consistency, especially from a guy like Gabe Vincent. He came from a Miami team, was looking good, played well, came to the Lakers, and really wasn't that consistent. And so, again, the Lakers, if they want to succeed next year, they got to get some bigs. So we'll see what they do in the offseason. We'll move on. Final first-round series. Warriors and Rockets went to 7 as well. Warriors win the series. Honestly, going into the series, the Rockets being the 2 seed, I thought they were going to get upset. I like the Rockets, but a veteran team like the Warriors' experience was going to get them. They weren't going to beat Wardell, Stephen Curry, Draymond Green, Jimmy Butler, Buddy Hield, Pajensky, Kuminga, those guys. Jalen Green's a great player. You got a guy like Amen Thompson, Şengün. They got guys like Jeff Green, some vets there, Fred VanVleet, to name a couple guys on that team. But, man, the Warriors, just experience was going to get them. And they had their chances. But, again, like I said, experience is what really got to them. And coming into that series, when I was looking through, I was like, I think the Warriors are going to win that series. And, again, experience is what got them. But, Rockets did really well. Ime Udoka cooked the series. He was a good coach this year, and I think the Rockets are still a team that are going to be dangerous. So, not much to say about that series. I didn't watch that series. I watched a little bit here in snippets of that, but it was a good series from what I watched. But again, experience is what got the Warriors that series win. East side now, Cavaliers, Heat, sweep. Miami just couldn't keep up. I mean, Game 4 was pitiful. I've never seen a team get blown out so bad. There's not too much to say about that series. I mean, they attacked Tyler Hero like they did. Bam Adebayo, Andrew Wiggins, they couldn't do it on their own. I think Kevin Love, lost his father during that series, so that was tough. But, when you got a guys in Cleveland like, Donovan Mitchell, Jared Allen, Darius Garland, I don't know if Levert got traded, I believe. Ty Jerome, DeAndre Hunter, what's this guy, Max Strus, these guys, dogs. That's a tough team to beat. And so you go into that series, the 1 seed is already going to have the advantage. And Cleveland had their way that whole series, and they won it. Light work, 4-0, take the brooms out. Pacers-Bucks was a very fun series to watch. I was very surprised, though. Pacers got that 4-1. Dame, I think, getting hurt, missing part of that, due to his blood clots. I'm glad he was able to get back out there. But, man, the Pacers were not one to mess with. Tyrese Halliburton, Miles Turner, all these guys, Obi Toppin, Pascal Siakam, all these other guys, Naismith. There's just so many guys you could name. Not O'Connell. I forget this white dude's name, but he can hoop too. But they're deep. They played well. They matched the intensity of the Bucks, and the Bucks just couldn't keep up with them. And I'm really interested to see what happens with Giannis. There's some rumors that he may be leaving, so that'll be interesting to see. But yeah, 4-1. I was really surprised at that series. I honestly expected the Bucks to come in hotter. I don't know. I'm kind of starting to question a little bit about Doc Rivers. Is he really that just good of a coach? His one championship in Boston, but ever since then hasn't had much success in the playoffs. Clippers, Philly, now with Milwaukee. What's next for this guy? Are we gonna start blaming things on Doc Rivers, or are we gonna, you know, we'll just have to wait and see. We'll see what happens. So I don't know. Next series, we got the Pistons and the Knicks. Series goes to the Knicks 4-2. I wanted the Pistons to win. I liked the Pistons. I was really surprised by them this year. A very young team led by JB Bickerstaff. Actually, I was wrong. Cleveland's coach is Kenny Atkinson. Correction. JB Bickerstaff is the coach of the Pistons, and he did phenomenal. What a year for the Pistons. Such a young team led by Kay Cunningham. Guys like Timmy Hardaway Jr., Asar Thompson, Isaiah Stewart, Tobias Harris, who, played for Philly, wasn't that good, but comes around the Pistons and is able to help them get to the playoffs. Other guys on that team. They were a really good team. Obviously, that bad call by the refs. There was a foul at the end of, I think, game 3, 4, something like that. But, man, such a bad call that, when they end up reviewing it, they're like, yeah, it was a bad call. Like, it was a foul. That made me so upset because I really wanted to see the Pistons. But, man, talk about the Knicks, Jalen Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns, OG Anunoby, Josh Hart, those 4 guys specifically. They got guys off the bench that are just good players, good shooters all around. It's a really good team over there in New York. And they look good in that series. Final series in the East, first round, 4-1 Celtics beating the Magic. Again, I kind of wanted to see the Magic, do some damage, be able to push that series a little bit. But, man, the Celtics were just too strong. NBA champions, defending champs. When you got guys like Porzingis and Drew Holiday and Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Derek White off the bench, and then, sixth man of the year, Peyton Pritchard, Al Horford, a vet that he is. They got players. And, they were the champs for the reason. And they came in there and dominated. The Magic were able to steal one game in Orlando, but outside of that, the Celtics dominated that series. So, second round where we are now, like I said, it just wrapped up. Thunder Nuggets is again. Game 7 is tomorrow night. The Thunder have been stressing me out this series. Stressing me out. Because the biggest things with the Thunder is they've been missing a lot of rebounds. They've been missing a lot of rebounds, letting them get the offensive rebounds. They've also not stepped up in guard on the 3-ball. Guys like Aaron Gordon are getting open threes. Christian Braun is getting open threes. We saw Game 6. Julian Strasser or something like that. I honestly didn't know who this guy was, but put up like 12 in the third, when SGA was out there, in foul trouble. And you bring this guy Julian in, and then they tied the game, and then just Game 6 was the Nuggets after that. But, you have games also like game 2, game 2 or 3, I can't remember. I think it was game 2, where, no, game 3, we get into OT, and you got guys like Hartenstein, can't make a simple float shot, shots that we got to be able to make. And that's the one thing that might worry me for Game 7 is because the Nuggets have so many players that have been there. They've won it. OKC does have some great players with great experience, but not as much experience. And so they're still a young team, but I think they can pull it out Game 7. I'm hoping they can pull it out. Game 7 should be a good game. We'll go to the next series. Timberwolves beating the Warriors. What a series. Again, Ant Edwards, great baller. But the Warriors, the talk of the series, losing, Steph Curry. That's a tough injury to have then. Jimmy Butler was in and out, not really healthy. The Timberwolves really took advantage of that, and, and Edwards leads his team to the Western Conference Finals again. They're going to be, as much as I hate to say it, but, man, the Timberwolves are going to be dangerous. You don't know where they're going to be. They could be in the championship. So, again, Thunder Facing Thunder and Nuggets will face the Timberwolves in the Western Conference Finals. So we'll see how that rest of that series goes. Then the final two series on the East side, Pacers and Cleveland. What a series for the Pacers. They, smacked the Cleveland in the mouth. Darius Garland getting hurt was really tough for Cleveland. But man, the Pacers is I'm not a fan of the Pacers. I think they talk too much. But man, they're strong. They're not a weak team. They're a team that you don't want to mess with. They're a good team. But we're just going to have to wait and see what happens. And then, last night we had the Knicks close out on the Celtics. First of all, tough loss for the Celtics losing Jason Tatum. That's just unfortunate. Tore his Achilles. A lot of Achilles injuries. A couple of this playoffs. Dame Dollar tore his, which was a tough loss for the Bucks too when they lost to the Pacers. Then Jason Tatum, just accident injury. Tough. You hate to see stuff like that. And it just, the Knicks had their way. And we'll see what happens. Eastern Conference Finals, looking at it. Knicks and Pacers, honestly, I don't know who I want to win that series. I'll be watching a little bit more of that series, but both teams are dangerous. Jalen Brunson, as clutch as he is, Tyrese Halliburton has been proving himself, who was voted the most overrated player. But he's been cooking. He's been cooking. And he's backing it up, and we'll just have to wait and see what happens. I think that could be a series that goes to 7. It'll be a good series. It'll definitely be heated to bring back those Knicks and Pacers days, the Reggie Millers and the Spike Lee time frames, and those series with the Ewans, all those times, John Starks and all those boys. So that series, I think, will be a very good series. And then, preview Western Conference Finals. I do hope the Thunder advance, but man, whoever faces the Timberwolves, that'll be a tough series. That will be a tough series. We could see potentially, some guys get their first championship. The Thunder with a lot of their young guys getting their first championship. Shea could get his first. Anthony Edwards could get his first. Guys like Halliburton could get his first. Jalen Brunson being in the finals again if he makes it that far. And so, I don't know. The rest of the playoffs are going to be very interesting to see. A lot of surprises this year, but I'm been intrigued by the playoffs. One thing that I'm very interested to see what's going to happen, who wins the MVP. Like I said, I think it's going to be Shea. I think the Joker's had a great year, but man, what Shea has done for the past 2 years and been consistent, a great defender, great player, great offensive player, but his stats back it up. And just Joker, man, kudos to him too, though, man. He's going to go down as a first-time Hall of Famer when he retires, set in stone, just for the guy that he is. He's been cooking, but I do think Shea's going to win MVP. We'll just have to wait and see. So that has been my playoff breakdown again and a little preview for the next round. Man, type in the comments what y'all thought I said. Anything you're like. Because, honestly, I like debating, too. But I want to hear you guys' thoughts about the playoffs. Again, I'm hoping it's – honestly, I want to see Thunder Pacers. I'd rather see Thunder Pacers. But, honestly, I don't care who wins out of the East. I know I want the Thunder. But if the Thunder don't make it, honestly, it's going to be hard. Because I like Minnesota. I like Denver. And I like OKC. But it honestly – whoever wins, and I'm not going to really care as long as it's just somebody from the West. For me, honestly, I'd rather see the Knicks or the Pacers lose. But we'll just have to wait and see. So, man, what a great episode again. Again, man, y'all like, subscribe, comment, share, tell your mama, tell your friends, tell your girlfriend, whoever. Whoever. I want to hear your ideas. Let's get some future guests on here. If you want to be a guest, if you're a friend of mine, let's talk about it. I want to be able to get you guys on the show so we can talk. But until then, it's been another great episode of the Let's Talk podcast. I'll be seeing y'all here soon. Peace.